UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2 takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Amir Al-Bazi versus Zalgasa Maguilov. Looking forward to this one in the flyweight division. I feel like I look forward to every single flyweight fight at the moment, because it's such a great division. I feel like it's really improved over the past couple of years in terms of how dense it is and with the talent that we have at the bottom, and Amir Al-Bazi showed that in his UFC debut, submitting Malcolm Gordon in the first round by triangle, and he looked good before then as well. Landed some big shots on the feet, took down Malcolm Gordon whenever he wanted to, immediately went for the triangle and pulled Malcolm Gordon on top of him, much like Khabib did to Justin Gaethje. That shows a lot of confidence in his ground game, and also a lot of confidence against a guy like Malcolm Gordon, who isn't really the best opponent in the world, but still, Amir Al-Bazi looked really, really impressive against him, and I like Amir Al-Bazi, but Zalgasa Maguilov is a very, very underrated flyweight. The odds are very close in this one. They actually have Amir Al-Bazi as the underdog, and I'm going to bite on that underdog. I think Amir Al-Bazi is going to be the younger guy, the stronger guy, the more explosive guy early, and he's going to go out there and take advantage of a guy in Zalgasa Maguilov, who I believe is starting to slow down in his career just a little bit. We saw that in his Howley and Pave bout. I know he took that one on short notice, but he was training for a bout before then. I believe it was even against Amir Al-Bazi as well. So he had a full training camp, and I thought he did beat Howley and Paver. But Howley and Paver hasn't really beaten too many impressive opponents either. I mean, he has one win over Mark De La Rosa, which is somewhat of a decent one, but that's Mark De La Rosa. Like, he was on a losing streak as well at that time. I feel like I'm going to go with Zalgasa Maguilov losing this one to Amir Al-Bazi by submission early. I know Zalgasa Maguilov has wins over guys like Tagir Ulanbekov, but I've just noticed upon watching his recent fights compared to the ones he had a while ago against Tagir Ulanbekov, which was an interesting decision, by the way, I'm sure we can all agree, but Zalgasa Maguilov is a great fighter. I've just noticed a complete difference in how good he looks from his older bouts where he was closer to his prime in like 28, 29, 30 to these recent ones. He seems like he's really missed a beat, and at the flyweight division, unless you're made of what Davis and Figueiredo is made of, it's a very, very short window of a prime, and the speed and accuracy and reaction time are very, very essential. So once you start losing those things, and I feel like Zalgas is starting to lose a little bit of those things, including some of his strength as well, I'm going to go with Amir Al-Bazi here by submission in the first round. Bigger guy, stronger guy, more explosive, younger as well, more improving, coming off a great finish, got the UFC jitters out of the way. I think he's going to go out there and get the job done against Zalgas. I say by decision win, because I watched Amir Al-Bazi's fight with Jose Shorty Torres, and Jose Torres is really good. I know he lost to Alex Perez, but other than that, he's a really, really good fighter. He's beat a lot of good names. He had an amazing amateur career, got great grappling and wrestling, and Amir Al-Bazi had his back for the entire second round and showed some great takedown defense in there, and that was when he was really young as well. So now I feel like he's going to improve massively. I'm betting on his improvements, and I think he'll get the job done against Zalgasa Maguilov by a 29-28 close competitive decision, by just seeming to have a little bit more in the tank in those later rounds that Zalgasa Maguilov, I feel like, is starting to lose as he gets a little bit older. So I'll be taking Amir Al-Bazi as an underdog against Zalgasa Maguilov, regardless of Zalgas's early wins in his career. He's also been KO'd in his career quite badly. I'm going to go with Amir Al-Bazi here. Good power on the feet, good takedowns. I think if he initiates the takedowns, he could do quite well. I don't like it when someone lets Zalgas sort of push him against the cage, because that's somewhat his game. I'm going to go with Amir Al-Bazi here, mainly because I feel like Zalgasa Maguilov's game is not very respected by the judges right now. He's a grinder. He takes you down. He doesn't do a lot of ground and pound, but he'll get you down. He'll get position. He did this to Tagir Ulanbekov. I just don't feel like the judges really value that right now, so I'll be going for the damage and power of Amir Al-Bazi in those exchanges. He gets the job done by close decision. Moving on up the card, Nick Lentz versus Mozart Evloev takes place in a catchweight bout. That favors both of them, in all honesty, because Mozart was supposed to be taking on Nate Landwehr. I believe he even cut weight for that bout as well, or got close to cutting weight before the fight was eventually pulled off. But Nick Lentz also favors him. He's a big boy, used to be at lightweight, now he's coming down to featherweight, and I guess he gets a little bit of a free pass here to not cut all the way down to featherweight, because again, he had a fight rescheduled. I think that Mozart Evloev's going to win this one, boys. I really do. I really do. Sorry, I said boys. One female's probably watching this as well, but still. Mozart Evloev is really good. He's really, really good. He's got a long reach as well. He knows how to use it. He knows how to keep people at the end of his shots, and he's got amazing takedown defense. And if it wasn't for his key attribute being his takedown defense. I would not even mind Nick Lentz getting an upset here because I think Nick Lentz is so underrated. He puts on great performances. He beat Scott Holtzman in the lightweight division and took him down a bunch of times, and that's his game. And if you can do that to lightweights, I mean, you can do it to smaller guys at featherweight as well. He had a good performance against Arnold Allen, lost every round there, got outstruck, but still had a great performance. On short notice as well, had a good performance against Arnold Allen. Like, you can't deny that Nick Lentz is a really, really good fighter. I just wish that Mozart Evloev's game wasn't his most impressive aspect is his takedown defense, and I don't see Nick Lentz going out there and outstriking Mozart Evloev on the feet, so I will be picking Evloev to win this one, 30-27, unanimous decision. I do not see a finish. Nick Lentz is very, very tough. I just don't see a guy in Nick Lentz who loves the pressure and takedowns being able to take down and pressure Mozart Evloev because his takedown defense is just amazing. So I'm going to go with Mozart Evloev getting the job done, keeping it standing, and just slowly picking apart Nick Lentz on the feet for 3 rounds to get himself a 30-27 unanimous decision win. Younger guy as well, going to be more improving. I want to see what the new form of Mozart is since his last performance against Mike Grundy, because that was an amazing performance. I'm going to go with Mozart Evloev with his superior takedown defense. Moving on to another fight that headlines the early prelims, Andrew Sanchez versus Mahmoud Muridov. I have no idea. I would have maybe put this on the main card. I have no idea why this is headlining the early prelims compared to some of the fights on the main card. But Andrew Sanchez versus Mahmoud Muridov is a great bout. I am going to be leaning towards the side of Mahmoud Muridov. He's got the reach, he's got the size, he's got the youth as well. He hasn't quite taken the same amount of damage as Andrew Sanchez has. Sanchez has been in that bad fight with Marvin Vettori where he kind of got beaten up for 3 rounds, but he looked good in that fight. He was landed some good shots on Vettori. Vettori was just overwhelming him with pressure on volume. That's what Muridov does, you know what I mean? And I know he had that close fight with Alessio De Chirico, which now looks actually a little bit better than it did before, because Chirico was on a 3-fight losing streak. Now he's the guy who KO'd Joaquin Buckley again. Sorry, I was about to say it without an again, but Holland's already done that, and it's a tough time to see, but now Alessio De Chirico doesn't even look that bad. Got a KO against Buckley. Muridov's win, I thought he won the first 2 rounds against De Chirico pretty clearly, and then he looked like he was just coasting the third. I think he will go out there and put the volume together on Andrew Sanchez, keep him shelled up, because I think when you can do that, and if you can separate yourself from the other strikers in the division, and when I say other strikers, I'm talking about guys like Wellington Turman. I mean, I like Andrew Sanchez, but he just can't seem to beat the better level of competition in his career. He's been KO'd before twice, once by Anthony Smith, one by Ryan James, also got beaten by Marvin Vettori. As I said, he can beat the Marc-Andre Barrios and the Marcus Perez's and the Wellington Turmans. It just seems to be a little bit, when he takes that jump up to a guy who really knows what they're doing on the feet, it seems to be a little bit of a problem for Andrew Sanchez. I feel like he's really improved, but I don't think he's going to get the job done against Mahmoud Muridov, and I don't see him as a big enough underdog anyway. A close bout, I'm sure, but I think Muridov will eventually take over, winning himself a 30-27 unanimous decision. Just watching the Marvin Vettori fight, Sanchez doesn't like the volume, and Muridov can put together a lot of volume as he did against Trevor Smith in their bout, eventually being too much for him and finishing him in the 3rd round. I don't see a finish happening here, but what I do see is Mahmoud Muridov landing a bunch of shots on the feet and just outlanding Sanchez for 3 rounds, 30-27. Maybe Sanchez comes back in the 3rd like De Chirico did against Muridov if Muridov decides to coast it, but I definitely see Muridov getting himself a decision win. Sanchez just doesn't seem to have the answer to change where the fight goes other than on the feet. Seems to be quite comfortable on the feet now, and you're not going to be too comfortable on the feet against a guy like Mahmoud Muridov. Hopefully we don't lose another middleweight prospect, because we're losing a lot of them. But I'm going to go with Mahmoud Muridov getting the job done, 30-27, being better on the feet, fighting better at range, because Wellington Turman is not that good, really. And I know Sanchez beat him, but Wellington Turman made a Marcus Perez fight look close, and that's not okay to me. So I'm going to go with Mahmoud Muridov getting the win. Moving on, up the card to the prelims. Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus Marcin Pratchni. I mean, come on. This one's early prelims, no? But he was on JRE, I guess, so fucking hell. Khalil Roundtree. Marcin Pratchni shouldn't be here, man. He just shouldn't be in the UFC. He's not that good. He's getting a bit older. He just got KO'd by Mike Rodriguez in the 1st round brutally with a knee up the middle, I believe it was. Really, really bad KO. A lot of damage there. Now he's turning around reasonably quickly here 4 months later, less than 4 months later. Just 1 day less. I think he's going to get the shit beat out of him by Khalil Roundtree on the feet, in all honesty. If Mike Rodriguez can do some tinies up the middle on you, and Mike Rodriguez is not the guy who went to Thailand to train in his career. I just don't see Marcin Pratchni going out there and being strong enough to get Khalil Roundtree Jr. to the ground and control him there like a Kutalaba could. So I see Khalil Roundtree Jr. piecing apart Marcin Pratchni on the feet. I hope Khalil is not going to retire. I know there was some rumours that this was going to be his last bout. I hope he doesn't. He's only 30 years of age. I know he's been KO'd a couple of times, but still, I think he should continue. He's 30 years of age. We need light heavyweights. Please stay around, Khalil Roundtree Jr. If you're watching this. I think you're going to win against Marcin Pratchni by just being way, way too much from on the feet. Pratchnio's a little bit taller, but who knows if that's actually true, because people had Qatar and Holloway as the same height, so I'm done believing the heights of people anymore. So Pratchni could be fucking 7 foot. He's going to get kicked the shit out of by Khalil Roundtree the entire fight long. Do I see a finish? Maybe in the second round after he's been beaten up a little bit. Khalil Roundtree Jr. doesn't seem to have amazing finishing instinct unless he cracks you really hard. You know what? I'll say late first round TKO. Khalil Roundtree can do finishes, but he just seems very patient about when he wants to really jump in and get the job done. But Pratchnio's been KO'd before this one. He's not as tough as Eric Anders, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Khalil Roundtree Jr. getting it done by a brutal finish in the first round with like an overhand right and a pull counter, because Pratchnio just shouldn't be here. And he's getting older, and he had a long time off before his last one, and he got KO'd badly, and now he's having a quick turnaround. It's not going to end well. Khalil Roundtree gets it done. Moving on up the prelims to Juliana Pena versus Sarah Mcmahon. Decent fight in the women's bantamweight division. Juliana Pena coming off a submission loss to Jermaine Durandamy, guillotined her. She's the submission girl, and she's been submitted now twice against her big jumps up in competition. One against Valentina Shevchenko, who armbarred her, but that's Valentina Shevchenko, so I think we can excuse her there. Also lost to Jermaine Durandamy, as I said, and had a good fight before then. Looked like she was going to start doing quite well with the takedowns, but then eventually got stuck in that guillotine as a jiu-jitsu girl. I just haven't really seen Juliana Pena, especially as someone who is touted for her submission ability, submit anyone of any decency whatsoever. Nico Montano was able to survive on the ground, and I think if Nico Montano can survive you, Sarah Mcmahon, despite being 40 years of age, which is crazy to me, I feel like he's going to be able to implement her game on the ground. She's still in amazing shape and an amazing athlete, and she's only lost to the best in the division. I feel like Sarah Mcmahon's going to control her on the ground, because although Juliana Pena, I don't know why I pronounced it like that, but it sounds way cooler. Although Juliana Pena is a submission girl, she just doesn't do it, and she doesn't get it on anyone. So I'm going to go with Sarah Mcmahon smushing her on the ground in half guard with top control the entire round, landing total strikes, winning herself the fight that way. And I know what you're saying. I said before against Zalgasa Maguilov, the judging doesn't really favour his style, but this is a women's MMA bout. There's no separations whatsoever. Yeah, they don't get stood up even if they're just holding on to each other on the ground. They get stayed there for the entire time, it feels like, even though men get separated after 20 seconds if they don't land a brutal elbow. So I'm going to go with Sarah Mcmahon via biased judging towards women's fighters, and she'll be able to control Juliana Pena in half guard for the entire fight long, 30-27. Moving on up the card, Brad Tavares versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Great matchup. This one should be on the main card, in my opinion. It's a good one. Middleweight bout, ranked contender Brad Tavares coming off a KO loss to Edmund Shabazian, which now looks a little bit worse because we were looking at Shabazian as the next big thing in the middleweight division until Brunson shut him down. But Brad Tavares got smacked up badly in that first round, got cracked, then got head kicked. He's been KO'd before in his career a couple of times. I don't see Antonio Carlos Jr. being able to go out there and also KO Brad Tavares in the first round, and I'll tell you this, if you can't do that to Brad Tavares, he seems to be quite a problem for people. I mean, look at what he did to Israel Adesanya. I know he didn't win and didn't really do anything, but he survived for 5 rounds and took a bunch of shots there, but that was obviously in a different time of Adesanya's career when he didn't have a breast due to gynecomastia, but still, Brad Tavares survived Israel Adesanya for 5 rounds. He's got good cardio. He also shows that he's a great counter grappler, which I think is going to be a great tool in this one. In his Talis Latis fight, he had perfect takedown defense the entire time, and Talis Latis was really trying to get him to the canvas. Brad Tavares kept stuffing the takedowns, kept landing the shots, outlanded him every single round, got himself the win there. Also against Krzysztof Jotko, who tried to keep taking him down. Brad Tavares, in fact, in the finishing sequence, was stuffing a takedown, turned around Jotko, and got the big KO win in that 3rd round. I think this is a great matchup for Brad Tavares. Not really too much of a threat of being KO'd on the feet. Antonio Carlos Jr. is a great grappler, but I think Brad Tavares has sort of established himself as the counter grappler of the middleweight rankings right now, just outside that top 10. Grapplers seem to have a bit of a problem with him. Antonio Carlos Jr. is a great fighter, but I'm going to go with Brad Tavares getting the job done. by just stuffing all of the takedowns of Antonio. Even though Antonio might get a few in the first round, Tavares stays calm on the ground, very hard to put away by submission, gets back to his feet, eventually outlanding Antonio Carlos Jr. in the early rounds, and I could see Antonio Carlos Jr. gassing out in the third and potentially getting TKO'd in the third round by Brad Tavares. I'm going to go with Brad Tavares repeating his win against Krzysztof Jotko against Antonio Carlos Jr. in a very, very similar style matchup and getting himself the third round TKO on the feet with like a brutal overhand, while Antonio Carlos Jr. is just a little bit drawn out from trying to get him down the entire time and failing miserably. Brad Tavares stuffs all the takedowns, lands the shots in the third, puts the pressure on, eventually finishing Antonio Carlos Jr., and then he becomes another person that will be used to propel another young contender's career. It sucks to be Brad Tavares, in all honesty. He doesn't really get any nice matchups, but this, in all honesty, is a great matchup for him. He's the counter grappler. That's what he does. So I'm going to go with Brad Tavares, third round TKO. Moving on, up the card to another one. Arman Tsarukyan versus Nasrat Haqparast. Looking forward to this bout massively. So glad it's got a chance at headlining the prelims of this card. I think this could as well be on the main card. I like Arman Tsarukyan. I feel like he's got a huge chance at blowing up his name and becoming a big name on this card. So Arman Tsarukyan, in my opinion, is going to get the job done against Nasrat Haqparast. He just seems to be better on the feet, better in the grappling, in my opinion, by far. Nasrat Haqparast, great fighter, also very young. This is a battle of the contenders, really, but Nasrat's been KO'd by Drew Dober. I just don't like that sign when he got KO'd that badly off of one punch. And I know Drew Dober's got some power, but Alexander Hernandez took it better than that, you know what I mean? So, and I know I'm sort of judging Nasrat a little bit too highly here, like I'm judging him against a name like Alexander Hernandez, who's a ranked contender, but I consider Arman Tsarukyan pretty much ranked already, and I know that Nasrat's being a little bit disrespected here in the odds of this fight, but I think that just goes to show where people respect Arman Tsarukyan in those rankings. I consider him top 15 right now. He had a great bout with Islam Makhachev, very, very close bout. If he landed a couple of significant strikes extra in that bout and didn't seem to opt into the grappling with Islam Makhachev, then he might have won that bout, but he decided to try out the grappling a little bit and got himself in a bit of a grappling mindset with Makhachev and looked really good in the grappling. So this is going to be a stand-up fight. If Arman wants it on the ground, he can put it there. He's shown that against Olivier Aubin-Mercier as well. Aubin-Mercier, great grappler. Arman, shut that shit down real quick. I like Arman's grappling. I think he's got a way out if the striking doesn't seem to be working out for him. Nasrat Haqparast is very good. We've seen him KO'd in his career. We've seen him lose to Marcin Held as well. We've seen him lose an early fight. And even if you look at these early fights of Nasrat's career, 0-1, 0-1, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 8-5. You know what I mean? Like, these aren't the guys I want to see people beaten to get themselves into the UFC. I want to see a guy like Islam Makhachev who in Arman Tsarukyan, who takes on Islam Makhachev in his UFC debut, knowing it's a bad matchup, and still goes out there and has a great performance. If you didn't know back then, I actually picked Arman Tsarukyan to beat Islam Makhachev in that bout, and I'd say it was a decent prediction because he gave him the closest fight of his career so far, other than the one against Adriano Martins, of course. Arman Tsarukyan's going to get it done. Davy Ramos' fight was absolutely brutal. I think that he did exactly what Nasrat did to Alex Munoz, but just against Davy Ramos, which I respect way more. I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan, beaten better competition, looks better as well. He's younger. He seems to be more improving as well in his career. I'm going to go with him by third round. I think he goes the distance. I don't think he gets a finish here. He seems to slow down a little bit in the later round against Davy Ramos. I think he'll go out there and get a unanimous decision win, 30-27. But don't be surprised if Nasrat Haqparast makes this competitive. I think he's really been disrespected in the odds, and it was almost enough to sway my opinion. But I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan. He's a savage. He really is, and I think he's going to be top 5 in the lightweight division. I think he's really, really good. So I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan, getting it done by decision. He's got a little bit of a reach advantage as well, although being a shorter fighter. So that's going to help him out. I think he's way stronger than Nasrat as well. And again, if he doesn't like it on the feet, he has that option that Nasrat doesn't, which is to try and take Nasrat to the ground. And I think he could easily out-grapple him if he wants to, but this will take place on the feet, and he'll outstrike Nasrat for free. Moving on, up the card to the main card of 257. Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. Now, this one's interesting. Marina Rodriguez is not that bad of an underdog pick, in my opinion. I'm not going to pick her here, but she has been disrespected by the odds so much. It's not that bad to pick Marina Rodriguez. She beat Tisha Torres. Right, looked really good in that bout as well. She's got great takedown defense. But I feel like that's where she's going to lose this one. She had a good performance against Carla Esparza as well because of her great takedown defense. I just feel as though Amanda Ribas is not the girl who's going to be trying to get you to the ground immediately. This is going to be a stand-up exchange. And I think Amanda Ribas is going to come out on top with a 30-27 unanimous decision win, outstriking Marina Rodriguez for every single round. But Marina Rodriguez is very good. She just seems to be coming out of her prime, 33 years of age, seems to be slowing down a little bit in her career. Had a draw with Cynthia Calvillo as well, where she looked good for the first 2 rounds, but then eventually faded as those rounds went on, and Cynthia 10-8'd her in the third. Also had a draw to Randa Marcos, which isn't looking too good, and I talked about her takedown defense. Ribas had a better performance against Marcos than she did. Ribas just toyed with Marcos for the majority of that fight, and Marina Rodriguez lost the first round 10-8 to Randa Marcos, which I don't really agree with, in all honesty, because I think if that was a men's fight, they wouldn't have given it a 10-8 round, because Marcos was just laying on top of her for the entire time, landing total strikes, but they gave it a 10-8 round. It was still a dominant round for Randa Marcos early, and I think that Amanda Ribas is definitely a level above that. I know she got KO'd by Polyana Viana early in her career, badly as well. If you go back and watch that, she got really badly dusted up in the first round. There's just levels between the Amanda Ribas I saw in the Polyana Viana fight and the Amanda Ribas that returned 3 years later in the UFC, and she's looked really good ever since. And I like that 3-year break. That shows that she knew she had to improve her game rapidly, otherwise there's going to be some problems. So she took the 3 years, she improved her game. I think she goes out there and get it done. But I do want to say this: the Paige Vanzant armbar is not what impresses me about Amanda Ribas. It's the win over Mackenzie Dern, where she schooled her for 3 rounds. It's the easy win over Randa Marcos. And that shouldn't even impress me either. But I'll tell you this: people are acting like Amanda Ribas is the real deal now that she beat Paige Vanzant. Paige Vanzant is shit. She doesn't want to be a fighter. Now she's at BKFC. I think Marina Rodriguez is going to lose to Amanda Ribas. But I'm just saying, I feel like those odds, Jesus, this is close. This is really close. Marina Rodriguez can strike. I just think if this is going to be taking place on the feet, and Marina Rodriguez is not known for shooting takedowns whatsoever in her career, it will take place on the feet, and Ribas will have an advantage there just by being a bad style matchup. But I think in terms of skill level between the pair of them, they're both pretty even. But I'm going to go with Ribas. Good style matchup. Doesn't have to take her down. She'll just stay on the feet for 3 rounds and earn herself a unanimous decision win. But I feel like those odds are fucking crazy. But still, moving on, up the card. On the main card of a pay-per-view, Matt Fravola versus Ottoman Isotar, or Zaitar, sorry, his name is. I like Ottoman Zaitar. He's got a big following as well. Matt Fravola is a good fighter. I'm going to go with Ottoman Zaitar here, or Zaitar here, getting the job done by first round TKO badly as well, because I've been watching some of Matt Fravola's fights. He makes a lot of bad mistakes on the feet that I think a guy with the speed of the hands that Zaitar has in that early round is going to give him some huge problems for. He has a real bad problem of sticking his chin down and trying to go with people. He did it against Marco Polo Reyes, and that ended terribly badly for him. So now it seems like he's going into more of his grappling game. We saw that against Luis Pena. He tried to control Pena on the ground. That was a controversial decision, but I didn't think it was a robbery or anything. I know some people called it a robbery. I thought it was a close decision that could have gone either way, and it was in that time where we changed the scoring system as well, so certain things were worth a little bit less, and everyone was a little bit confused about some of the decisions that happened. I think Matt Fravola is going to go out there and try and grapple. Zaitar, although we haven't seen him really prove himself against a good grappler, I don't think Favola's going to be the one to expose him in the grappling like someone higher up the lightweight divisional rankings can. And Zaitar will go out there and crack him straight on the chin, because Fravola likes to brawl a little bit and likes to scrap. And I don't like that against him, because in the Polo Reyes fight, he got smacked up badly, finished in the first round, and it was because he was trying to stick his head down and go hook for hook. And I just noticed a really different speed in their hands between Fravola and Zaitar. Zaitar, everything's quick, lightning fast, brutal power, catches people off guard, and gets the win really brutally. Matt Fravola, slower hands, brawler, likes to wear on people. I think Zaitar's going to beat him to a punch in the first round, earning himself the first round KO. I usually wouldn't mind Matt Fravola in the fight, but he's taken some damage in his career. Got really badly finished against Marco Polo Reyes, out cold. Bad finish. And also, got really badly beaten up by Lando Venata. Even though he fought that fight to a draw, he got dropped a bunch of times. Twice he got dropped in that fight. He got rocked a couple of times as well in that fight. I think he's just taken a little bit too much damage. However, If Matt Fravola had not been taking these damaging fights in his career and had not been KO'd out cold in his career as well, I might have picked him as an underdog here against Ottoman Azaitar. I wouldn't have minded that. A grappler going out there against Azaitar, but because he's taken that damage, and the reason he's taken that damage is because he likes to stick his chin down and go with people on the feet. I don't like that coming into this one. I think Ottoman's going to beat him to the punch with way more speed and then just catch him straight on the chin and put him out cold in the first round. Brutal finish for Ottoman Azaitar, and I'm sure he's going to get a huge spotlight being on this card. Now to the feature fight of a main card of a pay-per-view. A feature fight on the main card of a pay-per-view. It's Jessica Eye versus Joanne Calderwood. Both old, both leaving their prime, both having some embarrassing performance recently. Joanne Calderwood got submitted by Jennifer Maia quite badly, but she was doing good before then. Jessica Eye had a bad performance against Cynthia Calvillo as well. Got destroyed by Valentina Shevchenko before that. I think I'm going to go with Joanne Calderwood here. I think this is going to be a stand-up match, and I don't see Jessica Eye being able to dominate Joanne Calderwood on the ground because she likes to stand up as well. And I think Joanne Calderwood... Actually, you know what? I haven't got a coin to flip, so it's a bit of a problem here. But I am going to go with Joanne Calderwood. Is she the favourite here? This might be evens odds. I haven't actually checked the odds on this one, but I assume this one's going to be evens. Or barely evens? Who's the favourite in this matchup right now? Why can't I read words and see what they belong to? Here we go. Yeah, Joanne Calderwood's a slight favourite. I agree with that. Very close fight. Not really anything to go off of here. Both of them are meh, but okay. But they're women's flyweight, so even though they're highly ranked, they're still dog shit. Joanne Calderwood's pretty good on the feet. She mixes in a lot of kicks. I think that's going to be the difference here against a more boxing-oriented... I can't even say the word. Moving on to the next topic, please. What's next? Sorry, back on this fight. Fuck, I can't. I've got nowhere to go. I'm stuck messing up that word. She's got a boxing-oriented style, and I think she's going to have problems with Joanne Calderwood's kicking game, and I think that's going to be the difference on the feet. I don't see either girl going to the ground here. I see this being a stand-up bout. If anyone's going to shoot, it's going to be Jessica Eye. Don't see her controlling Joanne Calderwood on the ground. Calderwood's going to outstrike her using kicks, using leg kicks, using knees, using front kicks, using head kicks against Jessica Eye, who's going to be looking to box, and I think she'll win herself a close decision, 30-27, edging every single round on the strikes by mixing in some of her kicks. I'm going with Joanne Calderwood, getting the job done. Shorter reach with the hands, longer reach with the legs. I think that's going to be a huge factor here, and she will get her hand raised. Moving on up the card, Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Now we're talking. Co-main event of a pay-per-view. Now we're talking about real fights. Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Oh, I'm going with Dan Hooker by KO up the middle with a knee really badly in the first round. I like Michael Chandler, and I think Michael Chandler is top 15 UFC level. I don't think he's Dan Hooker level, because I believe if Dan Hooker fixes his cardio problem or just does a little bit more of a pacing of himself in the early rounds of his fight with Poirier and throws maybe 2 less shots in the second and 5 less shots in the first, he could maybe sneak that third and beat a guy like Dustin Poirier, who I have tremendous respect for in that lightweight division, and we'll get onto that in a second. But Dan Hooker, in my opinion, showed that in a 3-rounder, he's going to do real damage to any other contender in that lightweight division. I think he's the toughest stand-up fighter for Conor McGregor in the division of lightweight, purely because of how great his chin is. Now, is there a chance that he took too much damage against Dustin Poirier, and this could be the straw that broke the camel's back, and Chandler's going to go out there and be too fast, too powerful in the first round and catch him with a big shot? Yes, there's a chance that could happen. I'm not willing to bet on Chandler because of that small chance, in my opinion. I don't see Chandler out-grappling him, because who have you ever seen Dan Hooker be out-grappled by? No one. No one at all. I know Poirier got some good moments there, but that was in 4 and 5 of a 5-round bout. I think in a 3-rounder, I know that some people have been saying that Chandler's going to be favoured in a 3-rounder because he also slows down as the rounds go on, because he sets such a high pace that it's almost too high of a pace for his own self to catch up with and keep up with. Same problem with Dan Hooker. But I think in a 3-rounder, Dan Hooker's just going to have no problem going 3 rounds, doing the output that he does in the early rounds of the Poirier fight. He gets straight to work as well on those calves with those nasty calf kicks. And we've seen in Michael Chandler's career, the calf has been a target for a lot of people in his career. Brent Primus shut down his leg with a calf kick. Now, I know that's not... We don't know what the situation with that whole thing is, because we know O'Malley got finished by that with Marlon Vera as well. Is that going to be a weakness moving forward? Is that just a one-off thing where you get kicked on the nerve and it shuts down and it's like a 1 in 100 chance of something that happens to your leg in a fight? I'm going to bet that in a close fight where the odds are close here, which I don't think they should be, I think Chandler should be a pretty sizable underdog, and he's a close underdog, which I don't agree with. I think Dan Hooker's going to get the edge. Got good calf kicks, and I think he's going to start the fight with those. Chandler's going to be a little bit too small, so he's going to try and change the level, get in on the inside, do a lot of bobbing and weaving to find the target, and when he tries to do that bobbing and weaving to get on the inside, Dan Hooker's going to be waiting for him with a knee up the middle, and he's going to smash it straight on his chin and finish Michael Chandler in the first round brutally. And I'm going to feel really bad for Chandler, because his big chance to come out into the UFC and show what he's all about is going to end in horrific fashion, and Dan Hooker's going to smack him straight in the nose with a knee from down under, which is very convenient. With a knee from down under, Dan Hooker's going to get the job done. Got the reach advantage as well. The size of him. 6 foot tall. He's like one of the biggest lightweights in there. He's very hard to keep down as well because of that length that he has in those early rounds. I think if Chandler does actually get Dan Hooker down, he's not going to be able to get all of Dan Hooker down. Like, he might get his hands around the waist and maybe put Dan Hooker's bum to the canvas and keep him there for a little bit, but Dan Hooker's still got all of his upper body working, posturing with the hands. It's one of the reasons why John Jones was so hard to take down against Daniel Cormier. There's just so much of him to keep down. The same problem with Israel Adesanya. These long fighters are so hard to control on the ground because there's so much of them that you have to control. I don't see Chandler controlling him on the ground. He's 34 years of age, slowly getting towards the end of his prime. I know he's a physical freak right now. I think that Dan Hooker's going to go out there, smash home his calves, meaning that Chandler's engages are going to be a little bit less explosive, a little bit more laboursome, because his legs are going to get chewed up early by Dan Hooker, who wastes no time chopping at those legs. As soon as the Poirier fight started, boom, shin to shin. Not even calf kicks. Not even calf kicks, just straight shin to shin. My shin's harder than yours. You're going to submit first to these kicks. And Dan Hooker can do that against Michael Chandler. Go for the calf kicks as well. Chandler's going to dip in to try and get on the inside. And fucking knees coming up from out of nowhere. Dan Hooker's going to flatten him in the first round badly. Dan Hooker's going to move on to do great things. Dan Hooker wins that bout. Moving on to the main event. I've done a full fight breakdown for this on my channel if you want to go and check it out. Other than that, I'm going to give you a short summary of what I discussed in that video. Conor McGregor's too good on the feet early. And I think if you can't take him down, and you don't... Oh, let me talk about what the main event is. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2, the rematch in the main event of this card. Great main event. Really great main event. Looking forward to this one. There's a feeling in the air around a McGregor fight week, and it's just something different. And I don't know what it is. It's just knowing that there's so much on the line if he does lose, and there's so much greatness to be had if he does pull off what he said he's going to pull off. I don't think he's going to pull off a 60-second KO against Poirier. I think he's going to go out there, be too good on the feet, too fast, too good with the hands on the feet in the early round. People are talking about how much Dustin Poirier has improved. I like it. I feel like McGregor's improved way more. Way more. We did not see McGregor in the featherweight division pull counter in and just straight right down the center, fucking flattening someone on their face like the way he did against Eddie Alvarez and the way he did against Nate Diaz in their rematch as well. He's definitely improved his boxing. The training for the Mayweather bout is going to help him there as well. Poirier is not a kicker and has not been since his hip surgery, or since his hip has been bothering before the hip surgery even then. Like, before the hip surgery, his hip was bothering him and he didn't throw any kicks towards the later half of his career. He threw a lot of kicks in the McGregor first bout, and that seemed to really work on McGregor. 7 out of 10 of Poirier's strikes were leg kicks, and they all landed pretty well, and landed some good inside leg kicks in that bout. Same Alvarez had good success with inside leg kicks against McGregor. Dennis Siver had good success with kicks against McGregor in the first round. But I think Dustin Poirier, since his hip surgery, hasn't thrown too many kicks. He seems a little bit stiff at the hip as well. Doesn't seem to throw kicks too well, so he relies on his boxing. You're going to box with McGregor, who went 10 rounds with Mayweather, landed more shots than any other boxer in history. It's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a real problem. I don't see a 60-second KO for McGregor, but what I do see is him landing too hard on Poirier in the first round, and Poirier's going to immediately change who he is as a fighter, and he's going to be the defensive guy scooting around the outside of the cage. He's not going to be the guy pressuring forward like he was against Dan Hooker. He's going to be the guy on the back foot immediately, because McGregor hits too hard, and if you don't have Nate Diaz's chin, a prime Nate Diaz chin as well, and you don't have the grappling of Khabib to get McGregor out of the feet situation in the first round, and get him on the ground and tire him out there, if you're going to go out there and your game plan is to box with Conor McGregor and get both of you bloody and then come out on top afterwards, we've seen this before. McGregor's going to light him up early. Poirier's going to turn into a different fighter. And at the end of the first round, later than their first fight, actually, I think this is going to happen around the 4-minute mark, McGregor's going to be outlanding Poirier. Poirier's going to get frustrated with losing the round. He's going to come forward with a big exchange. And when he does that, he's going to get KO'd the same way he did against Michael Johnson. He's going to get KO'd by a southpaw with a big left hand right behind the guard, right on the side of the head, and I think McGregor's going to put him out cold, badly, in the first round. In the later half, though, I don't see a 60-second KO. That ain't going to happen. I don't see him just running across the cage and destroying Poirier. It's not going to happen. Poirier's a bit better than that. I actually could see Poirier running across the cage and throwing a flying knee, by the way. I think that's a good idea. ATT special. Masvidal did it on Ben Askren. McGregor's going to run across the cage and take the center. Why not throw a flying knee to start things off? You're pretty much immune from damage because it's such a weird technique to start a fight with that it weirds everyone out, and you could maybe have a chance of messing up McGregor's timing on how he perfectly had the fight laid out in his head. If I'm Poirier, I'm not letting McGregor get the center of the cage. I'm coming straight forward with a great big flying knee in the center, letting him know I'm here to stay. And I'm getting in his face, but I don't see Poirier doing that. And even if he did do it, he'll get smacked. So McGregor wins. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Goodbye. See you later.